Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most underrated but powerful parts of tabletop role-playing, note-taking. Whether you're a meticulous chronicler, a chaotic scribbler, or someone who hopes the bard wrote everything down, note shapes how we remember, interpret, and engage with our stories. Our panelists bring different perspectives as players, dungeon masters, and world builders, and together we're going to explore how notes can deepen immersion, support storytelling, and keep the party alive when the plot gets twisty. From here on out, we shoot without a script. To quote a famous musical. I'm going to go clockwise based on where I see everybody positioned. And if everyone can just give a brief introduction to the folks out there, who they are, who you are, how long you've been playing, how long you've been note taking, and your favorite thing about D&D. So we will start with Jamie.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm Jamie. I am one of the mods here at the tavern. I'm also D20 Dinner. I'm a dice maker. So online, you can find me at D20 Dinner making dice and all that, rolling dice to decide what we're eating for dinner and all that good stuff. I have been playing D&D for about 5 years now, I believe. I've been regularly note-taking since I started. But when I started, my notes were very me-based, like things that my character would know and that kind of stuff. They got like serious probably 2 years ago. Is when I started like robustly taking notes. And let's see, my favorite thing about D&D, getting to roll dice and play pretend. If I'm being
That's
specific,
a fair answer.
it would be when I can creatively use a spell in an out of the box way.
Okay. Next in the clockwise circle is none other than Missing Mirror. Mirror?
I am Missing Mirror. I am another mod here in the tavern. I learned how to play D&D initially in about 2012. There was a big gap in there in the middle where I didn't play at all, got back into it. I initially was not a note taker. I've always been a list maker. So I was trying at first to like make cheat sheets and make sure I didn't forget anything that way. And it kind of evolved into a note-taking adjacent space. And then a couple years ago, I picked D&D back up, and I was an obsessive note-taker, and it was too much. So I've kind of swung back and forth with that and found kind of a happy medium now. So I've not always been a note-taker. Absolutely not. And I kind of flipped backwards from what Jamie said. I am just now diving into taking notes from a character's perspective, which I really have been enjoying. But my favorite thing about D&D in general is probably seeing people access new parts of themselves. Like, I know for me, I was really, really nervous to be like out loud and creative and to do the crazy things and to, really push myself into a creative space because I thought I would fail. And D&D has really shown me that it's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, yeah, you might screw up, but you know what? People are still going to laugh with you, not at you. And, at the table, it's a safe space for screw ups and mistakes. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mira. Continuing clockwise, it's Day. Day Doodles.
What's up?
Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm the fox y'all pulled from the dumpster. Shit, what am I answering again? I'm clearly should be taking notes on what I'm supposed to be doing today. I've been playing D&D as both a DM and a player on and off for the last 10 years. I started when I was working kind of a first responder type position, and it was just a helpful way to just take my mind off of shit. Yeah, I should have, Jester. I'm aware. I'm a little out of it tonight, okay? Cut me some slack. I've on and off been a pretty decent note taker, I feel, at my tables. I started out as just like the big plot points, and then I'd miss the small details. I think I've refined it a little bit as I go, whereas I'm just jotting things down as they happen. And if it's organized, great. If it's not organized, so I'll fix it later, maybe, if I remember. It makes sense to me. That's the most important part. And Duke gets to read my notes sometimes.
Favorite thing about D&D?
Oh, favorite thing about D&D. I get to pretend that I'm not the 4'10" me for a little bit, and I get to be something else.
Okay. And last, but most certainly not least, don't say it, Duke. You're not least. Duke, talk to us, brother.
Yeah, I am Duke. I have been involved with Dungeons and Dragons in one form or another since the 80s, probably, or mid 80s. Mostly reading, mostly creating, not really getting a chance to play right off, but a lot of character building, a lot of, just being immersed in the world, a lot of reading. Started playing, oh my gosh, as a DM, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe. And I really dived into prep work as a DM. So a lot of writing, a lot of getting ready for that. And then when I finally got to play, I took absolutely zero notes because I didn't know how to do it. So I am still discovering that process. But I take what I know from my actual job, which is a lot of documentation, and I try and intersperse that into how I take notes. And I start out very factual and then build upon that. My favorite thing about D&D is just the unknown stuff. When people try to do just the most off-the-wall things, and when it works, it is just chef's kiss stuff. Yeah, just the unknown of it. That's my favorites.
Okay. Now, before we get started, I want to give proper credit where credit is due. The entire idea behind this seminar was presented in a question in our TTRPG chat channel by Jester Joe. And we were able to pull it together fairly quickly. And hopefully those of you that are here and those of you that are going to be watching the recording we're making of this get some great information. I know I'm going to be rewatching the recording to pick up whatever I can.
Oh, so this is your fault, Jester. Thanks.
And we are going to take questions in the side chat channel, but give us about maybe 10 or so minutes to do some initial questions, see if we can't answer some of the basics for you right off the bat. So, my first question to the four of you is more technically minded. What is your process, both mental and physical, for when you take notes? And I'm going to do the time-honored tradition of rolling a d4 to see who gets to answer that first.
Oh, dear.
4. The fourth person in the position was Mirror until about 2 seconds ago, and then it shifted to Jamie. So, Jamie, you win.
Okay. Okay, so the question
Oh,
was...
Can we keep shifting around? Is that what's going on?
How do I do that?
I think if you mute, it does shift you.
Yeah, it shifts you if you mute.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Like
the
that.
question was, what is our process? Is that right?
Mhm.
Like, what's our note-taking
Yes, process.
Okay.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you doing?
So for me, it's very different depending on if I'm playing in person or if I'm playing online. If I play online, I consider myself an incredible note taker because I can type really, really fast. Like I'm the kind of person who can sit in an interview and just type verbatim what the people are saying. But in person, I'm really bad at taking notes because my notes are they kind of look like they belong in a dumpster fire because they're ridiculous. So I online, I guess I'll speak mostly to online. When I'm taking notes online, I'm typing. I type all my notes. I don't write any of them because I'm a slow writer, which is part of why I don't take great notes in person because I physically handwrite them if I'm taking them in person. I take notes primarily from my character's perspective, so kind of how my character is viewing the things that are happening. But it's like a play-by-play of what my character's thinking. So I'm writing down all the things that are happening throughout the session, but it's in a tone of my character. So there are going to be things that are like slightly skewed because I'm like, I made a joke or someone made a joke, and now like the way that it happened didn't actually happen that way, but it's funny that I wrote it that way. So, you know, that kind of thing. So my notes have a lot of jokes in them. But I try to specifically keep track of things like loot that was discovered and found, kind of like the main things that happened during a session. I often end up taking more notes for scenes that I'm involved in because my character cares more about that specific thing. So I want to have more details on that. Whereas a scene between two other people that doesn't include my character, I'll have maybe one or two notes about that, but I don't have all the details.
Okay, let's
yeah.
let's go ahead and jump so we can get everybody in, and then we can start diving deeper into the surface stuff. Let's see who's next. Mirror.
I knew it was going to be me. I knew as soon as I started typing this.
Or Cece's taking notes already.
So I tend to, in general, my notes are bullet points, right? As the session goes, I just take its bullet points, one after another after another. If there is a natural break, say we're going to move from this city to this city, I will put a big space in there. But in general, it's just a list of bullet points. I try to kind of keep sections of conversations in their own bullet points. I also tend to do a recap, so I try to leave my notes in a way that I can read back easily. And I don't have to think so much and reorganize words when I'm reading a recap. I also, concurrently, when I'm playing online, I will keep another section of my Google Doc for journal notes. And so what I do with my characters is I will go back and I will write journals from their perspective exclusively. And so I get their viewpoint and everything as well. So I take, during the live game, I'm like, oh, Ailey would really like this. And that goes under the journal heading that I have. And other than that, if I handwrite notes, it's a disaster because I want to color code everything and I want to sort everything. And it looks like Crayola threw up on the page at all kinds of weird angles. So I can do handwritten notes. Usually what I do when I get a harebrained idea is I write them on one of 1,000 Post-it notes. So that's where my auxiliary notes are.
You can hear the tree crying from here.
It's bad. It's real bad. That's not even all of them.
Okay. Okay. Let's do you next.
Oh, I'll write that down. I do probably even less than that. I do, like, as we're going through a session, my brain can't focus that much on that much information at once to try and listen, write, and comprehend both things at once. So I write down. I write down nouns. So if it's a person, place, or thing that comes up, I kind of make notes of that and say, okay. And then as we get into like a break or end of session is when I can stop and go back and look. My brain kind of works like if I have something down on paper, just having it wrote down triggers where I can remember things, which helps me a bunch. But if I don't write it down and leave it to my own devices to remember, it's gone forever. Luckily, I stream a couple games. I always watch them back and take more detailed notes through that. But in in-person games, I really just sit down and take notes. If I was to type things out, I am the complete opposite of Jamie Muir. I'd look really funny on stream with my tongue sticking out trying to type the whole time. So I handwrite everything and then go back and type it up because it just makes sense.
And you go back and watch the VODs to get your notes down. Okay.
Yep.
Is that what the people we've talked to so far? Do you do this? Do you do the same, or is yours primarily in the moment of the game?
Mine is in the moment.
In the moment.
Never add notes later.
Okay.
I usually don't have time to go back and rewatch an entire session. If there's something that I really, really need to remember, or as I'm preparing for the next session, I'm like, oh, I can't remember, I will go back. But generally, the notes that I take during the session are the only notes I have going forward.
Okay.
And I can't remember anything. Like if I were to wait till break, or especially wait till the end of the session to go back and write something down, I won't remember it. It's that fast for me. I have to. So mine is all in the moment.
So right there's 3 different processes behind the complete note taking, and I have a feeling we may have a 4th day. You thought you'd escape my notice, but I'm sorry to tell you.
So I have 2 very different note taking styles depending on if I'm playing or DMing. If I'm DMing, it's always in person. It always ends up in this binder, and I fucking color code them. Because I am that fucking meticulous on how I take my notes. Because I'm running this damn session, I need to know every little string that these little assholes can pull. And I say that lovingly because my only in-person DMing table that I have going on right now is my family, so I will name call them. For playing, I really only play online. I have yet to play an in-person table, sadly. I use Google Docs primarily. Mine is bullet points, but it's big bullet points for like the big topics, and then as I get more information, I will indent, do another bullet point. And I have my notes pulled up from last session already because I'm like, well, I don't know if I need to show them, but I have them. So like, for example, like I had the interaction with Sun and Rictavio, but underneath that I have information that Harper was feeding in, that Sun was feeling, other information that was going on around the character. So I'm not just taking notes from my character's perspective, I'm kind of taking it from the party perspective, and then adding my own little bits of spice into it because I think it's funny.
Absolutely.
Like, I always at the top of my notes, I'll put if SETI got our day right. Because it's just a little bit of fun for me. So it's and like at the end of the session, I will always put down if anything was earned, if anything major was spent. So like I know for the last couple sessions we've been getting group inspirations, and I've been writing it down because I know it's gonna get forgotten.
Okay, Dan, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question that's going to go around to the table as well. And then after this one, I think we can start getting to audience questions as well. But this is something that's kind of like my big thing when I'm looking at note taking, is that the amount of information that flows in a standard 3 to 4 hour session can be really intimidating to try to sift
can I
through.
share my screen to just give you an idea of what my notes look like, to give you an idea of how my process works?
Absolutely. As soon as I finish my question. Basically, what do you guys do to determine what's important? Let's go ahead and get.
So, for me, I'm pulling out character interactions. I'm pulling out NPCs that might be important. So, like for here, Rictavio, I have him here. I have the party that's outside. I'm like, okay, that's great. I want to keep an eye on what they're doing out there because they're probably talking about something important. My character is currently very possessed, so I am hyper aware as just the player of how others are interacting about my character. So I'm going to take notes on it. So like here I have noted that Daz isn't going to hurt my character. And that was something said in the moment. And while my character wasn't actively doing something, I'm still going to jot it down. Whereas here, when I know Sun is interacting with Octavio, because I know the interaction was coming, I knew it'd be important, I jotted it down. But I'm also jotting down information that might be useful in the future. And it may not be useful in the future. Like, I put here that Daz wants happier music and that he doesn't know what off-putting means. He thinks it's an actual pudding. Do I think that's going to be relevant to the story? Not at all. But it's a helpful little tidbit into how that character thinks. So I'm just like, oh, well, it's a helpful little note on the character. It's not necessarily going to affect the story. Full sended. And, like, even if it's something where, like, the Burgermeister where we went down here, I was putting in my personal feelings at that point, because I'm like, it's affecting how I'm going to play, and how I'm going to interact with the character. As much as my character's not going to interact the same way I will, there's going to be an impact. So that's my thought process on it, is I'm jotting things down as they're happening, and if they're more important, I'm more likely to make them a bigger note instead of putting them as a sub-note.
Everyone have a different a slightly or more different process that they use between Duke, Mirror, and Jamie, or some different differing insights.
I do have mine set up a little differently while doing similar things. So I'm going to pull up Ailey's here. So I almost exclusively use Google Docs.
Mm-hmm.
And I have different tabs set up. So like in here, I'll just show you. So what I've done, I have this template that I always start out with. So I have my tabs over here for NPCs we meet, notes about party members, all basic things, right? Sometimes I'll go through and I'm like, oh, here's all, important things that I want my character to remember. And sometimes it doesn't evolve, and then other times it does. And so I have moved to each party member has a tab where I can, like, this is what I want to say to Kaida. Oh, this is what I need to say to Piotr. Here are the NPCs we met and where. And kind of just quick phrases where I can recall them. I have the spot for my journals, my pets. Alicia has, there she is. So I have, Alicia wanted to talk to Curse, so I have a tab in there for that to remember. And so I can kind of sort everything. Like, here's the things that she has that can attack. So her familiar and, her little flicker sprocket. And then I have to-do lists. And so everything is just kind of roughly sorted into chunks where I know to look for information. I obviously write very long form notes, but I have them organized in a way where I can go find what I need. And then with like my main nights, like the current nights, all of this stuff is always moved down.
Mhm.
So like my audience inspiration is moved down. This section is usually where I have things like, oh, I want to talk to the party about this, or oh, I need to remember that I have warding wind up for next session. All my kind of shorthand notes go down here, and so they just keep being pushed down. So there's all sorts of stuff that goes on in my notes, but it's generally in a million tabs, and then like I said, it all starts from one template that I have.
Suppose that this template might exist in a blank form.
It does. I will either post it from my own or maybe from the taverns, or we'll find a way to get that out there.
Because I think some people might be able to benefit from having a set template to start with, rather than reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that really helped me.
Jamie, Duke, anything to add?
Yeah. I can share. I'm going to share mine super quick too. It's not a ton different than what they've already said, but kind of determining some of the importance, I think was the original question. Sorry. I try and keep track of like the main things that happen during a session and then add details as needed. So if you look like here, like Arden asked a whole bunch of people if they knew anything about like the library and the Amber Temple. 2 different people responded, so there's 2 bullet points underneath. Everything I do is based on session, so everything's divided up by session number, and then bullet points from there. I also add in notes for myself. So like this one was at the very end of a session. I didn't have a chance to ask a question that I wanted to ask to an NPC. And so I made a note for myself to start off the next session with that. I put my to-do lists in my, this right here. This shows like time where I was logging loot that we had found. I pretty much always know like what loot we have because it's in my notes. If I'm looking for something specific, then I just do a Control F to search the whole document quickly. I also recommend having shorthand for character names. Like throughout here, instead of typing out Fizzlebang every single time, I literally just put FB. And that helps me kind of keep up with it. When I have something that I need to refer back to frequently, like this one right here that's in yellow, that's a note that I had to keep looking for that information like 4 sessions in a row about who was connected psychically, how long is it lasting, that kind of stuff. I just highlight it so it's easy to find. But when I do my to-do lists, my in-game to-do lists, need to find one. Here's one. So I keep the to-do list. If it's done, I highlight it green. If it still is like in progress, I highlight it yellow. If it's red, that means like we have either we don't understand how to do it, we really need to figure out how to do it, or something like that. So I kind of color code based on how complete that task is, and that helps me also prioritize the things that we need to do. This hasn't been updated. I pretty much update it either when I think about the to-do list or like am like, what do we need to do next? Or when we talk about the to-do list again. So there are things on here that like have already been done and I haven't updated it yet. Mm-hmm. As far as at the very top of every notes or everything of notes, I always keep the list of the table rules. And then I have a lot of this is out of date because I was going to do a really good job of keeping track of NPCs and stuff, and then that just never happened. But I do keep track of my inspirations and then also our group inspirations, because we also always forget how many there are. So I keep track of that just at the very top of my thing so that it's easy to find. So
Y'all's technological abilities are way beyond my skill level.
Okay, what do you do?
But I have a notebook with me.
Because
And
I'm sure someone watching this is going to be a Luddite. So
I have a notebook with me, and like I said, what I think is important. Generally, nouns are important to me, so that's what I go with first, and add on the stuff later. My final notes are all typed up, and on my online games, they're typed up, and I put them in the, what is it, the quest log? Is that the name of it in
like that,
the
yeah.
channel?
Yeah, that's where you put it. Yeah.
And it's more like it's wrote out more like a story than it is notes. I'd share anything, but I'm sitting outside right now.
I can grab your shit if you want me to.
Okay.
Weirdos.
But other than that, like I said, if you watch any streams I'm on, you'll know my inspirations. I write down on a dry erase board. I keep with me, so I know that they're getting used or they're getting counted. And I also, in my notes that I don't share with anybody, I have a list of interactions that I want to have, questions I want to ask people.
Notes to Alicia, things like that.
Sometimes, but Sunday nights, my character he has perpetually given away all his possessions throughout the campaign. So I keep a running tab on that, and just things like that. That's my personal journals that I keep on who's getting what, why they're getting that, and things I want to ask or say to people.
Right. Anything else on that subject from anybody before we go to a question from our audience?
Did you want to see what Daz's notes look like from us? Because I copied it over into my Google Drive, so I did, because I can't screen share.
You can pop it up there for a minute.
Out. I put it in my Curse of Strahd notes. I will be removing it afterwards, but like this is what Daz's notes look like.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just just like story form in my head.
It just goes to show that there's different processes that get you similar results, and there's no one right way to do it. So for people like me that struggle with that, that's heartening to know that there's, even if I'm not able to do 15 tab thing right away, I know what to work towards and have some things to try. Jester did have a question about the different programs we use. I know Google Docs was mentioned, and that looks like a. Does anybody use anything like Obsidian or other types of programs that kind of virtually do the conspiracy theory board stuff?
I have started in my in-person games. I have started using Notion, and it's taking kind of bullet point notes for me. I found that to be pretty useful. It's pretty automatic right after session ends. And it's been a nice tool I'm trying to learn and get used to.
Tried Notion, and I could never make it work for me. It never made sense. But everybody that I know that uses it loves it.
I'm
Welcome
not
on
in
in,
love
Hunter.
with it, but it's like I said, there's a learning curve to it. It's a process. I've actually set up my own Discord server so that every time I start that microphone up, Notion automatically kicks in and says, "Okay, we're recording."
Oh, okay. That's really interesting.
So I'm the only one in my Discord server. So, but that's the only reason I have it set up is so I can record for Notion.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I just use Google Docs right now. I've thought about using a couple different ones, but when I take notes, like at an in-person game, I literally just use a big notebook. So, and those notes are, again, much less than what I do online because I can type so quickly. My in-person notes, like if I'm taking physical notes, it's very brief, like major things that happened. Like we went to this place, we killed this guy, we found out this lore, we found a cool sword, and someone didn't shit their pants. Like those are the kinds of notes I take. I just like write absurd things down and major bullet points, basically things that I definitely don't want to forget. It's stuff that I write if it's a physical journal. If it's online, I have a lot more bullshit in there.
Okay, let's go to Jester Joe's question. Actually, no, we just had Jester Joe's question. Autism,
Yes,
folks,
Jester.
can't beat it. Ruth had a question here. Trying to find it. Oh, taking notes as a player versus taking notes as a dungeon master. How does the process change based on what your role in the session is, be a player versus dungeon master type stuff?
I have a couple different things. So depending on if you're playing in person or online, and depending on how your players take notes, you could always ask your players to share, their Google Doc with you, or share like if they leave their notebook at your house when they play. When I played in person, I wasn't the main note taker for that campaign. Someone else was, but we both left our notebooks there between sessions, and so our DM could use those as he kind of like re-logged things that happened. I wrote down literally every single person, like how tall they were, what their name is, like all this crazy information because I had keen mind. And so I had so much information, and then Megan had a ton of other really detailed information about things that happen, and he kind of used those together to also build out extra details that he forgot. As I run a game, I literally just jot, like kind of how Duke does, jot a couple words here and there, and then as I start planning my next session, then I look over those and like flush them out a little bit as needed. But if you have players that take notes online, you could ask them to share their notes with you, because that could be a good extra resource for you.
Yep. And I think as far as, from my perspective, as a player, I'm kind of focused on what happens to me and what's going on around me and what I'm going to do next. When I'm taking notes as a DM, I'm worried about all the players and what they're doing so I can prep for, to prepare for that, what's going to happen next session. Because they did this, now I have to veer off in this direction for the next campaign. So, for the next session. So my note taking as a DM, it's two different things. It's just two different perspectives for me. As a DM, I have to know where we're going next, and as a player, I have to know what have we done.
Yeah. So like as a DM, these are my character folders. These are all of the players that I currently have. They all have notebooks in each of these folders and their character sheets. I will go through these because it's a couple months between sessions. I go through these every time I'm doing my session prep to figure out what the characters know, because most of them take notes. Are they understandable all the time? No, but it gives me a general idea of what's going on, and then I combine it with my handy dandy control issue method, because color coded, and then I kind of try to meet them in the middle, and I try to figure out, so, like, I know next time they want to go to the Dwarven Kingdom, and I'm sitting here just like, well, I know this character's a dwarf, so I'm going to see what I can do to pull from his backstory. And I know this character doesn't like dwarves, so I'm going to, like, see what I can pull from here. So, to me, it's... I'm using what my players are giving me, but at the same time, I'm trying to sprinkle in the story that's already been skeletalized around them. And that's just my DMing side. Player notes, I'm just like, what sounds like it'll 1, be funny, and 2, be useful. That's what gets written down.
Anything else? Anything else from anybody? We had a question from Nix. I'm going to use that name, Nix, because I don't want to embarrass myself trying to say the other one. They ask if you keep track of the attacks made against the monsters or encounters, like which ones land and which ones missed for like elements and such.
It is incredibly situational when I'm doing that. So if I know this is going to be a long-ass, drawn-out battle, it's near the end of session, I'm going to start taking notes. I'm going to be like, okay, well, this is where I know the AC was. This is where I know it did not do a great job of getting hit. This is where I know it did a great job of getting hit, and suddenly it's on fire, and I didn't even hit it with fire this time. I don't know what the fuck happened there. That I'll keep track of, and I'll keep track of where my hit points are at, what my spell slots, if applicable, are. Like, all that stuff. But if it's a combat that I know is going to get wrapped up by the end of session, I'm not as likely to take notes. I will throw it in, like, the side chat on Discord and be like, hey guys, just so you know, this is what happened, and this is what helpful. But I'm not gonna, like, put it in my big notes.
When I am taking notes on a combat, the things that I take notes on usually are really big things that happened during the combat, like something that someone did that was really, really cool. I usually write down if somebody did a critical hit, because we usually, like, talk that through and explain how it happened. I also write down, the only time I ever write down monster stats are if I think we're going to fight this creature again, or this type of creature again. So things that we learned about the monster that we need to make sure we know in the future, like when you're fighting vampires, if they suddenly all become immune to cold damage, that's something that I need to make sure we remember. But like when we have fought Strahd, like there have been times where I have written down certain things that he has done or been able to do, because I know we're going to have to fight him again. I want to make sure we're prepared for the different types of spells he has. I want to make sure we're prepared for, like, if we figured out his AC, or if we figured out that he can, teleport, or, different kinds of things. So usually I only keep track of things if I think we will fight that type of creature again, or if my character just discovered that a certain monster type is immune or resistant to a certain type of damage. So if it's new information for my character, I'll write it down. Otherwise, I usually don't.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing, but it stays over in. It doesn't really go into what I would call formal documentation. It's the resistances, it's the immunities, anything that would help with tactics. If you're going to fight a similar creature later, if you fight a boss and they get away, where you'll have, where you could plan out better tactics next time, because, hey, I know that you're going to turn into a thing of bugs, and so what am I going to do for that? And just whatever it is, that's the things I write down. I don't really write down, even when I'm DMing, I don't really write down how many hit points this attack did, and I don't really keep that strict of note taking.
Understood. Mira, your thoughts?
I don't take combat notes like that. Generally, so what I will do is usually when we go in, I will kind of describe in a narrative way how the fight started, right? Bo walked up to the door, smashed it open with his hammer, surprise round. And then my notes just kind of stop for the most part. Except to kind of recap, this person begged for mercy and revealed this information. I don't really do blow by blow things. I only take things in combat really that are narrative. Or if Kurz gets hit really badly and I want Alicia to later go up and go, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Here's a cookie." I will record that hit from that monster, but I don't really keep track of combat. I did have a player that took great combat notes, and I loved hearing them. I just don't take them. It's just not in my repertoire, apparently.
Fair enough. We've got space for more questions from the audience, so feel free to get those questions in there. In the meantime,
there's one more from the audience, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Go ahead.
Jester said it's up a little bit. So I know pausing a session is a no-no, especially in a moment to get the names of loot, NPCs, and such. When is a good time to ask the DM for clarification on that kind of stuff? I can answer how I do that. Go ahead.
I know how we handle it at SETI's table. Because SETI knows I'm taking notes, he'll either just spell it out for us automatically, or I will just clarify, be like, "Hey, how the fuck do I spell that?" And I'll just do it in the moment. I don't yeah, sure, it'll break the rhythm of the game a little bit, but it's such a tiny blip, and we can get right back into it, and that's not a huge deal most of the time.
What I usually do is I just spell it out however I think. And if I want to make sure I don't forget to come back and ask about it, I'll highlight it so that I remember. But I usually will just wait for my DM to finish saying what they're saying or finish their monologue or whatever. And then I say, "How did you spell that name?" Or "What was that person's name?" Or "What was that item called?" Or, that kind of thing. So I kind of wait for them to finish. And then at that first lull, then I ask whatever question I needed to ask. But if your DM knows that is something that you really care about, is spelling names correctly, that kind of stuff, they'll get used to that. Or you can tell your DM, "Hey, I really care about spelling things correctly. Can you make sure you include that as you're introducing someone new or as we go to a new place?" And that will help.
Yeah, I am probably the opposite of that as well. I spell things how I think they need to, how it looks in my head or how I hear it. Because when I look at my notes, I'm the only one, I know what it says because I wrote it. And then in between sessions, I can figure out and get it spelled right for when I do recaps. But in the moment, if something looks like it has an X in it and it doesn't, I'm writing down what it looks like in my head, and I'll sort it out later with the DM or whoever. But that's me.
Okay. Anybody else have thoughts on that?
I probably have a very similar experience to Jamie. I just, most of my DMs know that I'm a correct spelling fanatic. It's just kind of a thing that I really like to do. And if I don't do it, my brain itches. So SETI usually is pretty good about going ahead and spelling something, or he'll drop it in Twitch chat or whatever. But as far as asking for clarification on stuff, especially for notes, I will absolutely just phonetically spell something in my notes, or I'll even just put a bunch of question marks in brackets and be like, "Okay, or I'll ask this later." If it's something that, "Hey, can you repeat that spelling?" I will go ahead and do it in the moment. But if it's, I need I need context on how to put this into my notes. That's something I make a quick cliff note and I come back to after the session or send a DM that they can deal with later. So essentially, if something needs to go in my notes is going to require a bunch of explanation, then yeah, I will absolutely, not slow down the moment that much. But in my experiences, asking for a spelling clarification has not really thrown that much of a hitch in the rhythm of the game. We all stop, again, at my tables, frequently to ask little questions. So I don't think it's a big deal.
Awesome.
I also will sometimes literally just raise a hand because it shows like I have a question. They'll see that I have that question and then like get to it when the moment's right.
Right.
Also, sometimes the other players, like if you're, trying to make sure you wrote down the loot that was collected correctly or you wrote down what happened correctly, like I'll just drop it in the side chat with the other players and say, hey guys, like what did Fizzlebang just do, or what was that sword called, or that kind of thing, because it's going in my notes. I wasn't 100% sure. Maybe I was typing a different note and missed it, and so I asked that question because I want to make sure it gets in the notes correctly. Or if there's a big RP moment with somebody, this isn't directly related to the question, but if there's a big RP moment with somebody and I didn't take detailed notes during it, but I want to have them, I'll message that player and say, can you send me a recap of what happened during that scene? And then I'll put it in my notes. And then if they care about it, then they'll do that.
How do the four of you balance staying present in the game while taking notes for said game? What are some things that you do? Go ahead.
Personally, I'm just a decent multitasker. I can write and listen at the same time. My spelling's going to be atrocious. Please don't judge me, but that's why we have autocorrect.
I try to take as little as possible in the moment because I'm not a multitasker whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But I can retain pretty well.
Is that you being a smartass, Jamie?
No, I'm literally not. I was literally typing to Jester and just totally missed it.
Okay, so that's proving our point. So the question was, how do you stay in the moment and still take notes?
Okay. Great question.
Jamie clearly can't do it.
Jamie doesn't know how to do something and listen to something else at the same time. My brain only does one thing at a time. So if I am involved in a scene, I am not taking notes. Unless there's something that just happened that I really, really want to remember and do not want to forget. And then you just see me freeze and then I respond. But if I am in a scene, I'm usually not taking notes during it. As soon as the scene is over, then I type out what happened really quick. Like the things that stick in my brain, I will remember and be able to type in as soon as that scene ends. And then that's usually where I reach out to the rest of my party and say, what just happened? Because I was typing while whatever else happened. But usually I can take a couple notes or write a couple things and then kind of listen back in and then write a couple things, listen back in. But if I'm in the scene, I'm usually not writing anything down because I want to be fully present for that moment.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
I very much almost the exact same answer. If I am actively in the scene, I will not take notes. If there is a lull in the scene, like if I am talking to an NPC and they start monologuing, I might take a couple little quick 1 or 2 word phrases here and there, but I'm still actively listening hard enough that I don't feel like I can take notes. So, but as far as just being in a scene but not active in a scene, I can listen to what's being said for the most part usually and keep typing. But if I have to speak or if my character needs to cerebrally respond to something, I don't take notes at all. And I just kind of play catch up later.
What's the most in-depth that you've ever gotten with your notes in the name of completism?
Did I mention
Literal
these are color
conversations.
coded?
What?
I said literal conversations. Day said, did I mention these are color coded? I mean, for me, the most in depth I went was when I played a bard who had keen mind and also disguised self, and wrote down the name, the height, if she had ever heard that person speak for a minute or not, what their occupation is, like how she knows them, who they are, what their race is, what their gender is, like all the things for every single NPC I ever met, just in case I ever needed to become them. That's probably the most like crazy I've ever gone with that.
One said
Besides
crazy.
like a I did.
Don't,
I did. Besides like a verbatim conversation about a moment that was really special to me or something like that.
So the most in depth I go is with my DM shit, and it's a problem because it's all coded, and it was not color coded on Google Drive. It's color coded in person. I went more in depth on here, but it's all tabbed out, and it's all like I even came up with fucking rumors for the world. And like I went in depth in like how all the guilds work, and it's still a work in progress. But like I said, fuck it, we're gonna build an entire world and we're gonna have fun doing it. And I'm still building it. And this is 5 years later.
awesome.
That's just the notes that the players get to see.
Mhm.
I have a whole other document that's just the DM shit. So it's a lot.
Duke, Mirror?
The most in-depth I've got in note taking is I played in a campaign where it was required for everybody to take turns doing recaps in character. And so my recaps as the bard, I had all of them wrote out, and then I went back and rewrote them all out in poetry form. So it all rhymed. So it was pages and pages of just rhyming recaps. And then the barbarian who went after me, who'd had no intelligence, had his kid drawing pictures, and he would just tell the story of the pictures. But that's the most in depth I've got, was trying to make things rhyme and to do it all the time.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Mirror?
I'm gonna stick to the law of the question here. For a game,
Okay.
I don't feel like I go into crazy depth.
Okay.
I do take really, really deep notes, I guess. Just a couple weeks ago, we had to go back months in a session, and I was able to control F and find a direct quote from the NPC.
Nice.
So it was an important NPC, and it's something that I think anybody would have written down. But so I do have like the deep notes, but I don't. Other than Aileen's journal, I don't do a lot with them after I take the notes.
Okay.
I don't feel like I'm deep diving. Backstories, that's a different thing, but
that's a panel for another day.
that is a whole
Jester actually has a related question to one of your last statements, Mirror. Do you all get together with other players after session to get the most out of notes and to make sure they match?
Only if I have a question about something that was going on.
I mean, I just share my notes in case other people either A, don't take notes, or B, are interested in what I wrote down. 3, I want to see if they find the funnies that I throw in them. So, but other than that, we're not like really exchanging as much. And I think Duke, you're really the only other one in our party that takes notes right now.
Yeah.
So it's just you and I sharing notes.
Yeah, I don't get together with players to compare things unless I have a question about something that happened or want to add that player's scene, or things like that. I've done that quite a few times with Monty, where I've asked him to send me a recap of a certain part of the session, so that it has the moments that are important to him. Otherwise, I just share my note document with the party at the beginning of our campaign and then just have it pinned somewhere. So you could be able to see like all of my notes from the entire campaign if you go into the pins. I don't think that it's essential for notes to match the other party members because your notes reflect what is important to you and to your character, more than everything all together. So the way that your end sees something is a lot different than the way that Arden sees something, and so our notes might be a little different, but they both still cover important events to that person.
Eleonora had a question that is actually being addressed in chat. How do you create? It's related to the Google Docs documents from before. So
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to make a tab if you got. I can show you really fast. Hold on. So on Google Docs, if I were to make a new document, which I don't feel like doing right now, you just there's a documents tab on the left hand side of your screen. You just add a document. You just add a tab, and we'll say that this tab is going to be, I don't fucking know. We're going to call it town festivals. If I could fucking spell. Proof that I can't spell, everybody. And then that would just be a different tab, and like the name, it kind of tells you what's in it depending on what you choose to name it, and you can go from there.
hey, here's my next question. What questions do the four of you have for each other? Something you've wondered about somebody else's process, recap rundowns, things like that.
Do you guys like being like the designated note taker of your party?
I don't mind.
No.
It helps. I don't mind doing it because it helps remember. Because I have the brain of a squirrel on crack. It helps me remember what's going on in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I won't take notes is when I'm playing a character that's dumb as fuck, and I don't want to remember what's going on, because my character's not going to fucking remember.
I think everybody would benefit if the whole table would participate. And I don't mean everybody has to take a complete set of notes. But if I can get somebody to say, okay, can you like take care of whatever loot we get? So I don't have to worry about that. Or you take, if you could just concentrate on this part. And then we could share collaboratively and go. I think that would help people that struggle to take notes so they're not overwhelmed. And I think it would help the group because everybody's participating. You're going to get out of note taking what you put into it. It's just like anything else. It makes the experience of playing a whole lot better. In my opinion, but if I have to miss a session for some reason and I'm the note taker, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So like even when I'm hovering at the sisterhood table on Thursdays, I'm still taking notes. I'm fucking hoping somebody else who's there regularly is also taking notes, because my notes aren't going to have all the same details that your guys' are, because I don't fucking know the table as well. And I'm still going to share the notes that I took, and I'm going to fucking hope that it's helpful. But I don't know. Also, sorry I keep sneezing and sniffling. I'm allergic to pollen, and I spent most of my day outside.
Actually had to Duke's point, I had that written down, that I think something that would be interesting is to have a group where, hey, you're going to take combat notes, and I'm going to take major story beats, and one person is solely in charge of tracking, the inspiration and the loot, and one person is in charge of tracking the to-do list. And that way everybody has skin in the game, and everybody gets practice at note taking if they're unsure, without having to be the sole responsible note taker. I like being the note taker, but we've all kind of hinted on it. I take notes my way, the way my brain works. I do take overall notes, and I take character, perspective notes, but these are information that I need for me to enjoy the game. And when I say enjoy the game, I mean remember stuff and be able to do callbacks and things like that. Essential information that I as a player need. I would take notes either way.
And I would
think
offer to help with that in a
collaboratively-
heartbeat, personally speaking,
I
just
think
because
it would just be an interesting exercise.
many hands make light work. Absolutely.
Part of the reason I like taking notes online is because I have such a squirrel brain that, like, if I'm not doing something to focus myself in on the game, then I'm thinking about all the other things that are popping up and notifying on my computer. So when I take notes during game, it's me, like, consciously making the decision to focus on the game and not all the other things that are trying to get my attention. So that's part of the reason that I started taking notes when I started playing Curse of Strahd, which was my first online game. Because it really does help me focus on the session and not think about all the other things that are happening around me. So, yeah.
I don't think if you're sitting at a table and somebody that's not a usual note taker comes up and says, "Hey, do you mind if I take this over or take part of this from you?" I'm pretty sure nobody's going to say, "No, that's mine. I really want to do that." They might still do it, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to go, "Yeah, if it helps you out and if it's what you want to do,
Yeah,
by all means."
Yeah, for sure. Yep, absolutely. I would never be like, no, I want to be the only one taking notes.
Right? No, I'm the note taker. You
it's my
sit over
crown,
there.
god damn it! No.
Yeah. Yeah, like Duke said, I'm not going to not take notes because I need to take notes, but I'm not going to insist on being the one that does it. So
Oh.
It's a good use for notes, Ruth. I like it.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty good. Yeah. Rue says, I started to take notes mostly because my games ran late and it helped me remember what happened and helped keep me awake. LOL.
Valid. That is valid.
Speaking of a little bit of humor, what's the most funniest or most out of pocket moment that occurred as a result of the notes that you took and or how you presented them?
Oh gosh.
So this is back around when I first started playing.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing a halfling barbarian who had 2 very possessed swords. And the way I had written the description of these swords was in my character's perspective, and not in the way that the DM had presented them. So I had forgotten that they were trying to corrupt my character, and that they weren't actually her friends. Because my character, she had an intelligence level of 7, and a charisma score of 8. So she didn't understand that the the Fae given broadsword was not her friend. It wasn't trying to corrupt her to evil. So she just thought it was trying to give her battle tips. And so I had written it as such. It was like friendly sword helping with battle tips. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's gonna use her friend sword. And my DM's just like, the fuck you mean friend sword? And I'm like, oh, the sword that she got from her goddess. He's like, that's not a friend. I'm like, the fuck you mean it's not a friend? It's been giving her battle tips this whole time. I've been writing them down. She's like, oh dear sweet Jesus. So apparently I misconstrued that completely, but it's funny.
That's fantastic.
Oh, I miss that character. If I could revive that character and just throw her back at something, it'd be funny as shit.
Plus has got a fun story. Anyone?
This kind of comes from me taking bad notes in person. But we were playing Descent into Avernus, and I was playing a character who, well, let me get back to that sentence. We had this quest where we needed to go and clear out like this sewer that was like the headquarters of the cult of the Dead 3 or something like that. I think is what it's called. And I thought that there were like 3 cult leaders that we had to go kill. Well, apparently the Dead 3 were like 3 gods that they all worshipped. So we killed like the 3 big cult leaders, or what I thought were, and I was like, we did it. We killed the Dead 3. And everyone was like, the Dead 3 are gods. What are you talking about? And I was like, no, they're like the cult leaders. Like, and I like turned back into my notes and it said, kill the Dead 3 cult leaders or something like that. And I was like, and so it became canon that my character just had no clue what the fuck was going on ever. So now I purposely take notes that like don't make a lot of sense, and then also take notes that do. But yeah, that definitely happened because I didn't understand what was going on. I think I got distracted. I wrote it down wrong, and then I like had no clue what was going on for like 3 sessions.
Somebody else has another story.
Can't really think of any.
Okay, Ruth would like to know what we should. Go ahead.
Okay, one of my favorite things I've done as a note taker is I started writing at the very beginning of Curse of Strahd. I wrote down like funny quotes that people said during session, and I posted them a couple times like on TikTok as like inspirational quotes. And so that's probably one of my favorite things that I've done as a note taker.
That's good.
I mean, one of my favorite things that I love seeing note takers do is reading their notes in character. Either that night or another character that they play.
Like, that was hard to do.
I read my notes. Oh my god.
That tripped me up so bad when I had to read Smoke Show recap as Alicia. That just is not the same vibe.
Brilliant. I sit here and tell you it was brilliant. Ruth would like to know, and I think this is a great final question for the evening. What would you say to a newbie note taker that is intimidated by starting their note taking journey?
It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be complicated at all. It doesn't need to be a big, huge system. Just start by writing down the things that you think are important.
There is no wrong way to do it.
Nope.
Do it however makes you and your brain and your heart happy.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be afraid to start over. I have tried a bunch of different note taking, and I keep coming back to Google Docs. But if I just decide tomorrow to pick up another one, that's fine. And if I hate it, then I don't have to keep using it. If the notes that you take are not working, don't be afraid to change them. You're not stuck with the way you're doing something. You're not doing it wrong.
I would echo all that, and I would just add to it. Start small. Write what you what your character, what's important to you, and build out from that. Um, there's nothing that you're going to put on that piece of paper that's not going to be helpful in some way. It may not come into play ever, but it's going to help you get better. And that's the more important part.
Any other thoughts? Anything in closing from the four of you?
If you decide that you want to start taking notes or change your note-taking strategy and you need help, let us know. We would love to help you and help you feel more confident. If you're already a note taker and you just want to improve, or if you have a question and you're like, I really don't know how to do this, like, come find one of us and ask, because we would love to help you.
I'm usually running around a dumpster, so by all means.
Yeah. Shoot me a message, tag me. I'll be happy to share what I have, and we'll compare notes, we'll talk it through, whatever. I'll mirror you in trying a new app if you want. I don't care. I just want you to be more comfortable than where you are, if that's what you want, if that's the place you want to go.
If any of you contact me, I'll make sure to forward you to one of those four.
if I'm not actively hunting my friends at Airsoft or under the Weld Hood, I'm usually available.
I'm old
Just
and
because
boring.
you show up at my house, you're gonna get tackled by a dog, and the dog's not gonna be nice about it. Just so you know.
If you show up at my house, I'll hug you, and my dog will jump on you and also hug you. That's a threat.
We're threatening people now?
We're going to go ahead and close the formal portion of this. I'm certain we can take the party to lounge or somewhere else if we wanted to talk some more. But I want to thank Jamie, Missing Mirror, Daydoodles, and Duke for spending time with us tonight and showing us Padawan what we need to know. I hope you guys found it informative. You can also find all of us streaming somewhere on Twitch some night of the week, sometimes multiple nights, because that's just the way it works, except me and Duke, because for some reasons someone's got to keep us separated. I don't know.
I was wondering, what's up with you two? Or is it just because there's just too much sexiness on the screen with the two of you there?
It's a SETI thing, and they just thought of saying one night. But that's neither here nor there. Thank you very much for coming, and we will see you the next time.